I saw Batman v Superman. I don't care about superhero movies anymore. People are more passionate about superheroes than they are anything actually important. And I know a lot of people can't separate or rationalize criticism of a product if they're passionate about it. Also, a lot of you are fucking stupid idiot children who don't know any better. So please be well aware that when I talk shit about these movies, it's not a personal attack on you, okay? I'm not saying you have to agree with me, but this is my video on why I'm sick to death of superhero movies. If you can still enjoy them, more power to you, but I don't care. As a kid, I was completely obsessed with superheroes, and I was just the right age to grow and evolve with the renaissance of how superheroes can be depicted in modern movies, and how kind of unknown characters like Iron Man can end up being iconic and recognizable because of how well they've been presented in movies. I mean, I was there from when the Green Goblin got impaled on that flying thing in Spider-Man. I was there to go, huh? Excuse me? In Ang Lee's weird Hulk movie, I was there to lose my mind at how good a superhero movie can be with The Dark Knight. And of course, I was also there to see how superhero movies are gradually being more and more watered down into predictable 2-hour-long advertisements for other movies that are also going to be 2-hour-long advertisements. It all began with The Avengers in 2012. Something of this scale had never been done before. It was the payoff for what 5 different movies have been building up to. And it was awesome. It was fun, dumb, goofy, and enjoyable. But do I think it's like a great movie? Nope, I certainly do not. See, when I watch these superhero movies, I'm not looking at them for how close they are to the comic, or for how many pandering references and recognizable imagery I can point at and say, oh, it's that thing that I love. I'm more looking at them as how they were directed, written, and structured as movies. If seeing Batman pull Superman through a building is enough to get your dick hard purely on the idea alone, and because reference to The Dark Knight Returns, then that's fine and dandy for you, but I look at things from a different perspective. I kinda want more than mindless visuals with no story. I see people saying things like, wow, if you don't like comics and superheroes, then why are you even watching these movies? They're for comic book fans like me because I like them. I like Spider-Man, so I'm giving this garbage movie a pass. Because I like Spider-Man. Hey, it's a thing that I recognize. Cool, that means that I like it. First off, the whole, these movies are made for comic book fans. They weren't made for you argument is a load of bullshit, and deep down you know it too. Last time I checked, comic books aren't exactly the most popular type of media, are they? I mean, all you have to do is just look at their sales. Are you honestly gonna sit there and tell me that these movie studios are pumping sometimes upwards of $200 million into the production of these films with only the comic fans in mind? No, I'm sorry, but it's not comic book fans that make these movies a success. It's the general movie-going audience, who, I'm sorry to say, have probably never even read a comic in their lives, especially not about some weird-ass bizarre shit like this. So I think at the very least it's fair to say that we should at least expect movies that are fun and easy to follow without any previous knowledge or investment that work on their own. Look, I'm not a picky person about genre or the subject matter particularly. I'll watch anything if it's a good movie. Well, that's not even true. I'll sometimes go out of my way to watch bad movies because I feel like it helps you appreciate good movies even more. I don't think every superhero movie has to be joyless and depressing like The Dark Knight to be considered worthwhile entertainment, but I also don't think comic book movies should get a pass purely because it's just a comic book movie. There's a balance. The Dark Knight is a very well made, very well written movie. It has characters and great dialogue, a story that is comprehensible, interesting themes and conflicts, it grips you emotionally, and has action that is so well filmed that it kind of leaves you floored at times. It feels real. On the complete opposite side of the tonal spectrum, you have something like Spider-Man 2. It takes itself way less seriously, but it still has a story that makes sense, even if it is pretty dumb. But it has enough interesting characters and cool action to keep things wonderfully entertaining, and is a complete story with its own arcs that works on its own. For me, it's a matter of if the movie making and storytelling is good, not, wow, the Hulk punched Iron Man, isn't that neat? That's so fucking vapid and boring after 5 seconds. You can show me the craziest visuals you can think of, but without any investment, characters, or tension, I'm not gonna give a fuck about your explosions, sorry. I mentioned that The Avengers was the payoff of 5 movies, but how many of these 5 movies are actually entertaining enough to want to watch multiple times? Like, how many of these would you say are genuinely great movies that stand by themselves? I would say 1. Iron Man. Like, don't get me wrong, they're all fine movies, they each have their moments, but they're so forgettable and few and far between. Like, who sits down and thinks to themselves, I know, let's watch Thor? What even happened in that movie? I don't know. Then you got like Iron Man 2, which is this weirdly paced, confusing mess with no focus. Well, it does have a focus, it's to set up the Avengers. Setting up the Avengers was more important than making your movie a fun, self-contained experience that leaves you satisfied. And don't tell me to excuse it because they do this shit in the comics. You can still set up future elements as well as having a well-rounded, satisfying movie that can stand on its own. It's about the balance. And I'm afraid Iron Man 2 was the moment that decided the future for superhero movies. Over and over again, we've seen this trend. Thanks to the Avengers making so much money, now every studio is floundering to build up their own superhero universe. Without the thought, without the planning, it's rushed together so fast. We're so focused on setting up future movies that we just end up with fucking trash like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Fan 4 Stick, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Avengers Age of Ultron. I know at least 3 of these movies actually have fans that will flock to defend it, but again, I don't care. You enjoy it if you like it, I'm not going to stop you. But good luck convincing me to change my mind, because this is not a mindless conclusion. I want nothing more than to like these movies, but I simply can't. And those are just some of the movies that are victims of the studio shambling together these weird rushed hybrid films that are barely even films that stand on their own. They're so reliant on shoving in awkward references and cameos and setting up universes that all link together that these movies end up feeling like homework. Before seeing The Avengers 2, I watched Thor 2 out of complete obligation because I figured that you needed to understand all of the Phase 2 movies before topping it all off with the Avengers. I was wrong. It just wound up being a movie about space elves or some shit. I was tricked. I didn't need to see that shit. And then to make things even more confusing, in the credits of Thor 2, there's this weird tease for Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a complete tonal shift and feels shoved in and forced. The Marvel stingers tend to have a knack for that. Realistically, how long can these superhero movies continue to flourish? There has to be a point where audiences are going to get fed up of it, right? I mean, I can't be the only one who's seeing all these problems. They say you can't have too much of a good thing or whatever. You know. Also, completely unrelated note, but when I image searched too much of a good thing, this horrible Vor monstrosity was a result. I Hate DeviantArt Part 2, anybody? These movie studios already have superhero movies planned all the way up to 2020. That's confident of you. And that includes beloved characters such as Doctor Strange, fucking Aquaman.
Hey, that's me!
Inhumans, Shazam. Like, guys, I get it, you love money. And I'm sure it is possible to make a movie that is half decent about some of these pathetic assholes like Aquaman. But you know, just calm your tits a little bit, yeah? So at the moment, we have 3 main superhero universes to keep up with and compare. I think. I might have missed 1 or 2. We have the Marvel Universe, the MCU, Fox's X-Men Universe, which is a Marvel comic, of course. Don't get confused about that. And then the DC Universe by Warner Bros. Oh, and also Sony Pictures owns Spider-Man, who is also from the Marvel comics. And I guess is now in the MCU. I hope you're taking notes because, like, I don't know what any of this fucking means. I guess it's fine for comic book lovers who enjoy seeing their favorite characters come to life on the screen. And I guess, hey, if I don't like them anymore, I probably shouldn't watch them. Except, what else is Hollywood offering me in terms of blockbusters? I guess I'm a sucker for Star Wars, but that's a new thing and that's still only 1 a year for now. Oh wait, that's right. My only other options are lowest common denominator trash like Transformers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or any other completely random property that has a slightly recognizable name. And don't say that blockbusters have to be bad. Some of my favorite movies ever were considered blockbusters at the time of release. Speaking of exploiting beloved franchises for shameless name recognition, I don't want to beat the already bloody, pulpy, rotting dead horse any more than it already has been, but holy fuck does that Ghostbusters movie look fucking terrible. Like, sickeningly bad. Please, let me just talk about this for 1 minute. I guess technically the Ghostbusters are kind of superheroes, right? I guess it kind of fits the theme of the video. I don't fucking know. So, of course, this Ghostbusters movie, which is only a trailer at the moment. I haven't seen the movie, but this is based on the trailer. But seemingly the only point of the movie is that it's the exact same as the original movie, but this time all the genders have been swapped. It's the kind of thing you might have joked about before Hollywood was in the stale and desperate state it's in now. Hey John, imagine if they remade Ghostbusters, but this time it was with women instead of men. Yeah, but what's the story? No, you misunderstand. The only point of the movie is to show off this gimmick, that the genders are swapped now. Dude, that's really dumb and stupid. Why don't you come up with an idea that's not dumb and stupid? Hey! Women are as capable as men. I didn't say they weren't.
Oh, hell no!
Oh, hell no!
But like, Ghostbusters was fucking dumb, and it only worked because of the very specific cast and script it had when it came out 30 fucking years ago. It's not like the idea of Ghostbusters on its own is so clever and rich that it deserves its own huge Hollywood franchise. called fucking Ghostbusters, for God's sake. So, the Marvel Universe, the MCU, that's the one everyone says is good, right? I guess comparatively it looks pretty amazing compared to its competition. But as much as I love seeing the smart talking character with attitude fight the bad guy who shoots a laser into the sky, or whatever, I have to say that while these movies are admittedly pretty fun and enjoyable for the most part, the lack of any dramatic tension makes each new release more and more boring and predictable for me. It's partially the advertisement's fault. I'll certainly enjoy sitting around in the theater waiting to see Spider-Man jump on the screen, like he did in the trailer. That was a neat surprise that would have been much better to see in the movie. I can't wait to see the scene that ends with the Silver Iron Man getting hurt. It's going to be so tense knowing that he's going to get shot out of the sky. It's really going to make me question what's going to happen next when I'm watching that scene unfold. But what about knowing that all these actors have multi-picture contracts for endless sequels, meaning I never have to fear for their characters because I know they're going to be fine no matter what. Like, is the MCU good? Yeah, at the very least you know what you're getting into. You'll get a few laughs. There'll be some neat action now and again, but don't expect anything much more complex than that. Stylistically, the MCU is very flat and bland to me. I'm pretty sure that it's actually a conscious decision so that all the movies feel like they're in the same universe, but it often leads to the films themselves lacking in any character or expression, apart from the literal babble and jokes that are coming out of the actors' mouths. Like, they're really bland and they hardly experiment at all. Every one of them fits into this established mold and format that admittedly is safe and works, but my god, does it get boring after a while. Also, what happened to superhero scores? The Marvel Universe in particular has really awful music. Like, why don't you go ahead and hum me the Thor theme, will ya? Okay, how about the Hulk theme? Captain America? Hawkeye? I know every single character doesn't need to have their own theme necessarily, but anything will be better than the cookie cutter forgettable garbage they use currently. Next up is Fox. They have the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. We don't need to talk about the Fantastic Four because no one cares.
Oh my god!
And they should stop making movies about them. The X-Men movies, though, are some of my favorites because they tend to have a much more serious tone, unless it's Deadpool, which actually was pretty good in the end, along with some great characters and interesting themes that reflect real-life struggles and problems. Like, I find that sometimes the MCU is so light-hearted and goofy that I find it hard to get invested in anything. I feel like the good movies in the Fox universe are more even in that respect. Also Magneto. His character alone is more interesting than just about anyone in the other superhero universes. That's not to say every X-Men film is good. Some of them are even straight up trash cock. And the new one that's coming out with the big blue man is worrying to me. It looks dangerously close to being stupid garbage. What's the obsession with blue people anyway? It's getting harder and harder to take this dumb stuff seriously, god. Then leaving out the fucking embarrassing failure that was Sony's attempt at a standalone Spider-Man universe, with the repulsive, Amazing Spider-Man 2, which hands down is one of the most bafflingly terrible products I've ever suffered through. Seriously, fuck that movie. I know it has a bunch of fans who flock to defend it, but I don't care. It's actually so bad that it's fucking hilarious. I'd list off everything that doesn't work about it, but it'd be easier to just tell you the things that do work and leave it at that. Nothing works, I'm serious. It's probably my least favorite superhero movie ever made. And you don't have to take my word for it. It was so awful and the studio had such cold feet after the disaster that it was. They seem to have scrapped their plans entirely and have lent the rights to Marvel, or the MCU, so they can make Spider-Man not shit again. Hopefully. So finally we got DC. Everyone loves Batman and Superman, right? Well, not me. Leaving out the failed Sony Spider-Man universe, DC is easily in the worst position at this point, and they only have 2 movies as of right now. Everyone hates Man of Steel. I don't like it as a Superman movie. It's glum and is a weird reactionary move to The Dark Knight that seems like a strange tonal choice for a character like Superman. But I kinda enjoy it as this weird movie about an alien who comes down to Earth and fights another alien and kills a bunch of people by accident. It's gloriously excessive, but at least you can understand what is happening in comparison to the movie that killed my enjoyment for all superhero movies from now on. Batman v Superman. Fucking hate this movie. Like, I had no expectations whatsoever. I have no investment in either of these characters that goes any further than, hey, that Batman guy is pretty cool, I guess. But the movie is such a rushed, incoherent mess that is built on purely pandering imagery and awkward studio business decisions that it doesn't even feel like a movie. Nothing really links the scenes together, there's no real narrative thread. Batman and Superman are both brooding assholes the entire time. There's no natural conflict of ideals or anything that would make sense or would make it interesting to watch. It's just a big, dumb mess. Don't you dare even suggest that I didn't get it because it's too smart for me. Fuck you. The reason I don't like it is because I do get it. I get that every single element of the movie is inherently rushed, unexplained, or flawed. Sorry, mindless fanboys who feel the need to personally attack those who disagree, but it's a movie about a guy who dresses up as a bat and an alien who fight. calm down. The most upsetting thing to me is the completely bizarre tone this universe has. When you can't even make a character like Superman likable and charismatic, what hope in hell do you have when it comes to someone like The Flash or Cyborg? If you want me to take your movies as seriously as you present them, perhaps you should do a better job explaining why a stupid asshole guy with a trident lives underwater and controls fish. My god, it only highlights how dumb it is when you take everything so seriously and make everything completely joyless with no levity whatsoever. I asked on Twitter if you think we're getting sick of superhero movies yet, and from over 16,000 votes, 37% of you said yes, which admittedly is probably skewed because of my audience most likely being a bunch of cynical whiners like myself, but it was interesting to me to see how almost perfectly split people seem to be. At Damon Albona claimed that Marvel can eat shit, which I thought was wonderfully insightful. This person said no, it's a stupid complaint. No one's forcing you to see these movies, which I guess is true. Higgins here brings up a good point by saying, a good movie is a good movie regardless of the genre. You'd never say getting sick of comedies, would you? I guess I'd never thought about superhero movies as being their own genre, but they are certainly prolific enough. I guess it's just the fact that they're not very varied as a rule. They deal with very simplistic themes and often resort to being highly predictable and trite, so they all just kind of turn into this weird blur in my head of the same shit. Bar a few exceptions or great moments that stand out to me. People are comparing superhero films to westerns now, saying that they'll simply start to fade out of relevancy as time goes on. I tend to agree. Trends ebb and flow and always change eventually. I have no problem with people enjoying these movies or getting hyped for them. All I'm saying is that my personal investment is so minimal at this point because of everything I've described in this video, which is a shame because I really do want to enjoy these movies. But the predictable, cynical business attitude from these studios that are more interested in creating products than art makes me not want to even bother to invest my time in them anymore. You can agree or disagree all you want, but I don't think anything I've said is unfair or unjustified. I may have just come to a different conclusion than you have, unless you think I've said anything you believe to be unwarranted, of course, in which case please feel free to call me out on it. One time. Whoa, mama. So those are my thoughts on superhero movies. So what do you think? Are you still into them, or are you as sick to death of them as I am? What are some of your favorites and least favorite superhero movies? Whatever it is, tell me in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. Make sure you check out some of my older videos in the IHE playlist in the annotations or card thing if you're on mobile. Go watch the podcast on my second channel, Jar Media. I'll see you next time. Bye!